So, um, about cleaning the strings, if you just clean the strings with that brittle pad, or even the one that's like a brass, like pad that people use to clean dishes, but doesn't have any soap on it, but it just looks like a bunch of brass wires. Have you seen
Right.
those? So that's also okay. You don't have to scrub too hard. You just and that's it.
Yeah.
If you do it a little bit every day, then it's actually easier because you just have to do like one or two swipes and it's done. Um, my opinion is that we should use a lot of rosin and then clean up your cello a lot. Some people don't like to use a lot of rosin. That's because they like that style, and they sound fine. I think more rosin is a better idea. I'm of the opinion of David Finkel, who, if you look at his videos called Cello Talks on YouTube, he talks about cleaning the strings and rosin. And the reason why I think we need it more is because we have thicker strings than the violin and viola, and I think we need a very good articulation, especially in the lower strings. And so if we have more rosin, honestly, you don't need so much more of the weight. So we're working with friction, and so it's the rub of the bow on the string that's ultimately the most important feeling,
Right.
not like tight.
Okay.
So anyway, um, if you look up David Finkel, he talks about this. So, see the cello talks?
Hi, I'm David Finkel, any cellist who has performed as much as I have. Hi, before we go much further, I want to talk a little bit about keeping the cello clean. And it's pretty important to keep an instrument clean because, in the first place, you can wreck the top of it, especially from all the rosin, if you don't clean it off normally. You can gum up the fingerboard and make it more unpredictable to shift. If there's too much garbage on the fingerboard, the fingers sweat and all kinds of awful stuff gets on there. Violinists tend to keep their violins much more clean than cellists do. I don't know why. Maybe it's because we make more rosin dust or dirt or whatever. But anyway, I look at my cello right now. I just took it out of the case. I didn't clean it after last night's concert, and it's full of dirt. The strings are all rosin. You can see how white it is. And the top is literally covered with rosin. I can scrape it off. It's on my thumb like this. So I want to talk about cleaning the whole thing, and it's a good time to do it. In the first place, the best way to clean your strings is with one of these. It's a scouring pad that you can get from basically any housewares store. And all you do is just take it, do that, and all the rosin comes right off. Now, where the rosin goes is another story. It goes pretty much onto the body of the instrument itself. And what you need to do with that is to have either a dedicated rag, or some people use tissue paper. I happen to have some right behind the camera. Excuse me. And this will take the rosin off. And then you can always use clean tissue. Just wipe it off, don't press too hard. But you got to do this pretty much every time after you play, especially if you're in a hot climate, because the rosin will melt and gum up the front of your cello, and then it's much harder to get it off. And now I'm going to talk about cleaning the fingerboard and the bridge, which is really, really important. In order to do that, you have to have alcohol. And what's very important is that you don't get alcohol on the cello itself. So here's how to do that. I'm going to put the cello down.
It's very important. The varnish.
Here's a little bottle of alcohol. And you need to get yourself a good rag, a clean rag, which I have right here. And you soak about a fingertip's worth of space on the rag with the alcohol. Now comes the fun part. Pick your cello up, keep them separate. And what you have to do, so that the alcohol doesn't drip on the body of the cello, you have to hold the cello kind of upside down like this, so that nothing could drip onto the surface. And then you wipe the fingerboard. and you'll be amazed at how much dirt will actually come off. You wipe it all the way up and down. Hold it like this, do it like that. This way, you can get enough alcohol on there. The dirt will come off like magic. It won't come off with water, by the way. It will only come off this. I don't know if you can see how black the spot is there, but I haven't done this in a while. Be sure to wipe all the way down to the bridge. And while you're at it, run the strings clean as well, by just squeezing on them all the way up and down. And while you're at it, use the other side of the rag, hold the cello up like this, and clean the bridge, because the bridge gets a lot of rosin on it. Be very careful not to touch the top of the cello. Once you've done this, then you're ready to rosin up, have a clean start, and I tell you, the cello sounds better. It doesn't have that dust all over it. The bridge is clean. I think the instrument responds better. It's very important to keep your cello clean.
You also use oil that's like non-corrosive to that kind of stuff and won't wear off the varnish, and it won't screw over the metal. Because outside of just as a side hobby, my cousin and I actually forge metal into blades, and after you're done making a blade, you rub, you could do linseed oil, or I think there are a few other kinds that'll actually protect the metal. So I'm thinking, I mean, it's metal strings. Could you just...
Well, that's a good point. I haven't heard of people doing that. The problem with that is that oil will get onto your bow, and then your bow hair won't work because it's soaked in oil.
Okay.
Just just like if you get oily hair,
But
when
the alcohol won't?
well, they have informally have done an experiment. There was this one string maker who did an experiment like, what's better, scraping it off like he just said, putting some alcohol on it like he also did, and they found that there was a slight worsening of the string with the alcohol, but it's only slight.
Right.
Because they felt that the alcohol did penetrate the winding of the string and go into the core of the string, and they thought that was somehow making it deteriorate a little bit. I'm not too sure about that. I think what deteriorates the string is just use, and if also dirt and oil from your hands. So if you don't clean them, they will deteriorate much faster. So the fact that you're cleaning them is going to help more than hurt. Right. Now, if you use alcohol every day, then it's probably going to reverse that benefit.
Right. But
So
it's just in general thing.
the alcohol, I only use that like once a month, or twice a month. I do change my strings like every 3 or 4 months though. So for a student like yourself that maybe just change your strings once a year, which I recommend to all my students, and if you're really practicing a lot, twice a year, because I know it's expensive. So that's why clean your strings. If you're going to use alcohol, don't use it frequently. If you just clean your strings down every day, you would only need to use alcohol once a month, maybe every 6 weeks. If you want to use it more than that, once a week's okay, but you start to run into like, now you're going the opposite way. Now the effect is gone. Now you're ruining the strings from too much alcohol. And you notice you only put a little bit on there, and the alcohol is going to dry in the towel really quickly. Alcohol just will start drying up, right? So you got to work kind of quickly, because if you just leave it there, it may not stay damp for too long. So that thing about the tilting of the cello, I don't know, that's a little bit unnecessary, but it is necessary if
that's more if you just get you've got too much alcohol on the thing,
too much alcohol. So anyway, I'm glad you guys went to see the symphony.
It was interesting. I found out that
sorry, but if you could sit so that we're like this, that way I don't hit your stand. So get a little more. Yeah, you can face that way still.
I found out that that regardless of how much I'm paying attention or not, and regardless of what's being played, if there's music being played, I'm going to fall asleep. And it's not like I'll still be aware of the music, but externally I'm out and sleeping, and I don't like that because I need to go to a lot of concerts.
Well, one thing that helps is just to know what they're playing, understanding what the music was written for, who wrote it, and maybe know a little bit of the history. And finally, if you can figure out the form of the piece and know that it's a sonata form, variations, rondo, etc., and kind of like follow along and see if you could guess what that is, it's a little more interesting. Okay, now let's place your bow, especially at the tip, on the bridge, and then go all the way down to this bottom part here. Yeah, and just stretch out. Let's stretch. That's right. You don't have to straighten out your elbow, but this is a good way to just understand, are you sitting in the correct position? Now, another thing is place your bow at the frog on the bridge, and on the D G string level. Now raise your wrist slightly like this. Place your forearm on the cello, resting on the side. Now, with your fingers led by the thumb, just lower your bow towards the C, and come back. You notice that I'm not moving my wrist, not moving my hand, I'm just moving with my fingers. This is a good and pretty easy way to find flexibility in your fingers. You're working with gravity. Try not to twist your wrist. There you go. Just with your thumb, stretch. Feel like you're elongating and then curving back. Elongating, curving, long and curve. So it's a good way to practice your flexible fingers. Now let's do your string crosses. Go. Just stretch, extend. Good. Now, at the frog on the A string, do the other way. When you're kids and I saw this in The Simpsons in one episode of it sometime, where Bart did something like, I'm just going to keep swinging my arm, and if you're in my way, it's your fault for being that I punched you. So when we were kids, we do that to our friends. When you are bowing across a string, don't anticipate. Just focus on your body movement. Stretch out and just move in this. Find the arc, and if the string happens to be there, great. You just you're working on the movement. You're not working on the time. Yeah, this thing.
Right.
Because that's what bothers all of us. Just stretch. Okay, next, pizzicato bows. Now, let's do here's a new thing at the tip. Feel like you're doing rowing, like row the oar like this. Forward, like this, and back. Now, as you're rowing, you're literally like digging into the string. Now, when you stop, D string, wiggle. A string at the tip, rowing. A string at the frog. D string at the tip, row. And then C string, row. Do a little more rowing until you really feel like you're in. Oh, you hear that? That was awesome. That's what you want.
I feel like I'm still losing my grip on the bow.
Yeah. Do you want a rubber band?
Yeah.
Now we have options. Some people use a rubber grip, like a tubing, and maybe Mr. Card uses one still. A lot of people do that. Now to use this is pretty simple. You just want to, but sorry. rubber band is a lot thinner, and this is a black color, so it's like, of course you'll notice it, but it's a little more inconspicuous
Right.
than on stage, for example, than the other one. And the rubber tubing, I have a problem with it. One, I feel like it's too thick. Two, especially when it's brand new, it's very stiff, so it's not as flexible. Consequently, it stretches out the hair.
Okay.
So you notice how you're like way back here?
Yeah.
And you see mine has more space between the end of the frog and the screw. So that the rubber tubing prohibits that movement, for lack of a better way of explaining it. That natural movement of the frog this way and that way. So what you want, you could do two of them, the two things, but just at least one. What is wrong here? Okay. There it is.
I think I just need a new bow.
That's fine.
Is it you're going to Sam Strings on Saturday again, right?
Yeah.
Is it possible for you to take that in so that the grip can be replaced
This grip?
finally? Because that's not glued in. That came loose a while ago, and that's just bunched up onto that wrapping there so that it won't move anymore.
That's possible, and if you got to give it to me on Thursday. Do you have an extra bow?
Yes.
So you could put two of them in here, but sometimes it slips. Even with one, you'll find that it's a lot better. Feel that?
Yeah.
It's just super thin, and like, but it just helps us, like having some socks on,
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Just like a little thin layer. Now the rubber grip, some people prefer it,
Feels slippery.
but is this still slipping?
A little bit, because I can feel my hand trying to do that.
Mm-hmm. Hold it up like this.
Yeah, and we did the.
Hold it like this with your left hand. No, just give me your thumb. Oh, thumbs up. Now put your thumb in that little bump area from the top like this. Now middle finger. Now hold it out like this. As if it's a flagpole on the side of a house. Now let go of all the fingers and keep it in this direction. Flagpole the side of the house. Feel that thumb, a little bit of pressure on the thumb. Now let go of everything except your middle finger and thumb. It should not move. See? Yeah, okay. Now play. Alright, so we're doing the string crossings now. Ready?
I don't have it in front of me, and I can't remember past this.
A. Listen to that last one. A. Now, rowboat. It needs to feel like it's really into the string. Alright, these harmonics, we're going to add in the first finger in the first position. And to be clear, your fingers in harmonics, we're like a little squirrel on the telephone wire. You're like 15-20% weight, so you could see the string is moving, but you're not pushing all the way down. Your right arm is like what you just did, meaning we have pizzicato bows, we have the string crossing bows with the feeling of being really into the string. But you want to use about half bow. You don't want to use like a fast bow that uses lighter weight. You want more friction. Half bow. Next is you're on the inside of this string, of course. And the fingers in the location correspond to where your 4, 3, 2, and 1 are in first position. So F, E, E flat, D. So here's the system. 4, 3, 2, go across to the next string. 4, 2, come back to the bottom string. 1. So the 2 and 1 going back across should be the same.
Okay.
The 2 and 4 going from bottom to top should be the same, as we've discovered already. Can you try it? And by the bridge. So your pinky's doing this. Can you curve it? Yeah. Next one. Next 2. Now go back to 1. Good. Now here is a paradox, or just a natural phenomenon. From the middle of the string, where we have the second partial harmonic that we know, to the bridge, the harmonics are getting higher.
Right.
From the middle of the string to the nut, the harmonics are getting higher, so it's mirrored. So if you feel like it's not high enough, you need to stretch back. Okay, now let's go to the G to D string. Curved, good. 4, now 2 and back. Oops. Good. Now 4 again to the D and A string. Pretty good. Now on the A string, we don't have the E string, so play 2 twice and 1 twice. Yeah, don't put too much pressure. Feel like the bow is rubbing on the string. And have you ever had a caramel apple?
No.
Have you ever had anything that's kind of sticky, like with honey?
Yes.
Feel like your bow is like sticky on the string like that. And rely on that. Don't feel like you have to push harder. That's better. You notice you took off a little bit of the edge. Now, this idea of playing with the friction and the rubbing the bow on the string instead of, overdoing the overpowering the string, it's very helpful for our sound so that we don't overpower the sound and we have a less scratchy sound. Now, the left hand, you'll find that your first position notes will be a lot better.
Yes.
Now, and more in tune. Now let's play our ringing tones. Ready? 4, 4, 4, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 4, 4. Then we're gonna do the middle C's. Ready? Go. Every finger. 1, 1, 1. Watch, it's curved, so I could see the G string. Next one. 4. Curve your fourth finger. So now, let's do the 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going to do 4 of these, 4 of these, 4 of these, 4 of these, 4 of these. Repeat it. 4 of these, 4, 4. 4 4, then 3 3 3 3 3 4 3 2 2. Right.
Oh, okay.
Ready, go. Repeat that one. 4. Now 3 times. Repeat it. Now 2 times. Repeat it. Once. Yeah. Okay. Good. Now, at this point, you play a scale. We're going to skip that for today, but you're still responsible for all of them. Let's hear some of your music. We have a little Vivaldi. Let's play that first movement.
Right. whatever you do, try to make it up, down. The pickup is up and the down bow is at the end. Whatever you do, see if we can make that happen. Okay. You got it to a better tempo toward the end.
the beginning tempo was not so good.
Right.
It'd be a little more strict. Let's try. How is that rubber band working out?
I think it's helping, but it slipped off. The
So put it back in because it'll eventually stay.
Right.
At first, it has a little bit of has some kind of powder on it to keep it dry or to keep it from like drying out. I think. So just keep on using it and keep on understanding that it needs to be there. If you, for kids that have problems with their pinky, you can wrap your pinky around.
I very well might do that to myself.
Yeah, see how I did that?
Mm-hmm.
You try it?
You just put it on the.
Yeah. You tend to put your pinky like off the frog. This will help you keep it on the frog in the right place. Ready? A little bit more. Listen. Bum, 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 bum. Ready? Go. Now, a very important thing about this movement and just technique in general, your left hand, then your right hand.
Mm-hmm.
So we often put our hands, you play a note and your bow is there simultaneous to your finger. Do your very best in every situation to make your finger be there before your bow. Finger, bow, finger, bow, finger before bow.
Okay.
And especially if you have a rest, especially if you have like any kind of space where you could sneak your hand in before the bow.
So like on that open A, have your finger ready.
Right.
The
See,
other
watch
A.
my fingers.
Okay.
See? As much as you can.
Right.
Let's try. 1, 2, and. Okay, now I like that you're playing with vibrato, but it's not the primary vehicle of of what should be your expression. Can you play? And I could say that you were playing normal intonation. Maybe it could be better, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't like the worst intonation I've ever heard in my life. It was okay.
Right.
But your expression was just like, it's like, oh, here's some flowers, and oh, you liked them. You know what I mean? It's like you didn't mean it.
Right.
So can you be more expressive with your bow?
Okay.
Meaning more bow, less bow, zigzag bow, stay at the tip, whatever. Watch my bow. Fast and slow. More active. And here's a little more spooky, right? A little mysterious. Now, was that, I mean, maybe it's not the best expression, but was it expressive?
Yes. More expressive than what I had.
Right, so let's see what you can do. It doesn't have to be like me. It doesn't have to be better. I mean, better than me, it would be better. But it doesn't have to be like me.
Right.
It could be like you. But there are some moments here we got to pay attention to. Strong beats are usually the down beat, right? Is usually like a first beat. So, for example, that E flat, you have a lot of last bow on this, right? And you have a separate bow here, but this is light and fast because this note's the most important note. Understand? Ready? No vibrato.
No vibrato
Yeah.
on
No. I want you to play your expression from your right arm, not from your left arm. Think of vibrato as makeup. So if someone goes out, a woman goes out, and some men, they put on makeup. Why? They want to enhance their beauty. A vibrato is an ornament. Just the way people ornament themselves. Now, men will ornament themselves with their clothes. Maybe they wear chains. Some even wear earrings or bracelets. They put on their nice watches. From an Apple Watch to a Rolex. Like it's like a style thing. They wear really cool. They ornament themselves with cool shoes, but they're really just a person, a body. Right. Now, in music, if we just put a bunch of like vibrato ketchup on everything,
it's gonna be more ketchup than it is burger.
Right.
Okay.
And so if you want ketchup, just open your mouth and squeeze the ketchup bottle into your mouth. I mean, it's like, you understand? It's like sometimes vibrato becomes that, just like too much ketchup, like a ketchup soup and just a few fries floating in it. See if you could attempt to express yourself with the bow. Try it. If you make mistakes, try again. Ready? Just don't shake. Just focus on the left hand playing correctly, which you're doing a fine job of.
Playing notes.
Yeah, and play bow it. Ready? And is that boring?
A little bit.
Right.
I mean,
Can you make it not boring?
for me, it seems like step into it lightly. Don't like cannonball in and then do some nice water dancing or whatever. It's like I'm trying to think of like a better way to say it.
Yeah, that was a weird way to say it.
Yeah.
But I think what we talked about this. Well, maybe we didn't. But if we look at the second cello part and the first cello part is unison. So that gives us an idea, because in the time of Bach and Vivaldi, they often didn't write any dynamics. In fact, they didn't write dynamics. They wrote very few dynamics. So we have to look very closely at the music. They're sending us messages through their music. So if there are a lot of harmonic changes, like a lot, like it's changing harmonically like a lot, probably, and diminished chords, probably we're going to have a crescendo, forte. It's like a serious, like, let's make some noise here. If it's unison like this, I think it sends a message too, like it should at least be strong, because two people are playing the same thing. So it's unison, the same rhythm, the same notes. I think he's trying to send a message like, hey, make it strong. Now, after that, it seems like it's like more piano or mezzo piano, mezzo forte.
Right.
But anyway, use your bow. Whatever you did, even though it was soft, I didn't hear any expression. Okay, let's do this. Forte, piano, crescendo. Piano, forte again. Okay, that's a valid point.
Okay.
But don't give me like I didn't hear anything. No vibrato doesn't mean no expression. Make something happen with the right hand. Ready? Set. But I didn't hear any pizzicato bows. You're going like this. So that's not exactly the expression we want here. So pizzicato bows. See? Now we'll learn how to do the rowing. Ready? And ready? Now, those last two quarter notes, maybe you can make them longer. Right? Yeah! Try it again, beginning. Ready? Go. Go on. So you're like, you're like, so
It's hard to play without the vibrato
Right.
after playing with it for so long.
it makes me wonder why people kept telling you to play with vibrato. Play with the bow. Whatever expression you want, make it happen with the bow. It is hard. I'm not saying it's easy. Move your bow. So, and here's the problem that we're discovering. When we try no vibrato, we lose the articulation.
Yes.
And you're going like,
I've never had to express with my right hand before. It's not ever something that I've been taught. It's always been left hand. If you want to be more expressive, use more vibrato. And that's all I've ever been told.
it's the opposite.
That's
Now,
a problem.
yeah. And you know, orchestra teachers, they tell you to vibrato. Of course, it helps for a couple of things. One, vibrato does mask an otherwise feeble tone. Your left hand being active can influence your right hand to be more active, so it could, you know, influence it that way. And finally, it can also mask intonation problems. So if you vibrato the 20 violins, and they're kind of around the note, it'll just kind of sound in tune better than no vibrato. It'll sound like, you know, but vibrato.
Sounds relatively
Yeah,
there,
yeah,
kind of.
yeah.
Okay.
Which, you know, that was a pretty terrible
I know what you mean.
example. But you get a full string orchestra, and now with a little vibrato, you could get away with that bad intonation. But what I'm talking about is your bowing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gotta fix it.
Gotta fix it. All right, ready? Do it again. Start from here. Ready, go. So right here, I think these are less detached. So they're more like ready, go. Grace notes and ornament. Remember, ornaments call our attention to something. It's like, oh, that's a pretty tree, Christmas tree. You got ornaments on it. Some people put ornaments on their tree for Halloween, you know, etc. So if you have an ornament, that's a little bit different accent, meaning you're gonna bring it out.
So don't just kind of glance over it, like difficult to explain.
So when you have a trill, when you have an ornament, a little grace note, it's important. It makes that note more important. Not like For example, if I didn't have the ornament, I would go. Now with the ornament, just a little push on there, more than you think. I'm just trying to teach you about ornaments. Ready, go. Alright, same place. Go. You're slowing down. Right there, open A, bow it, go.
I realized I was doing the
Yeah.
wrong.
Bow it! Put your bow again, put the C. And more bow! Now here's a method that you can use to liven up your bowing, to wake it up. Don't play your left hand. Play on the right side only with the bow. On the right string at the right time with the right bowing, right rhythm, everything. Like this, see? And then until you feel like you got the right expression, here's the beginning. Can you try that for the beginning? Just the right side. Yeah, try again. Ready, set, go. Again, ready, go. Can you make sure that up bow at the end is like good? Oh yes, it just takes a little bit of mental power
just
there.
don't want the.
Yeah. Again, go. All right, can you do like, bow? Yeah. Before you do that up bow, do the row bow. Ready? Now make those two notes. I like the pizzicato bow now. Make them a little longer. Ready? Go. Again. Go. Again. Go. One more time.
Hold on. I just noticed something on my cello that I hadn't noticed before. Is that it?
Looks like a scratch.
Yeah, that wasn't there earlier.
Did your bow get loose inside your case?
I think the rosin just kind of highlighted it. This right here is new, and it probably did get loose in the case. It wouldn't be the first time I've got a mark under this right there. That was a particularly bad one where the bow did get loose. Sorry, the way the rosin highlighted it, I thought I had a large crack running down the face of my cello, and I started freaking out. But this is not that bad. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, sometimes it does look like a crack, but it's not. Okay, sir. What you need to do for next time, Mr. Ethan, you need to learn Vivaldi first and second movements. Okay?
Okay.
Completely.
This rubber band, do I take it off when I loosen my bow? Or just...
No, it could stay there.
Okay. Is David coming in today?
I hope so.
Okay.
Also say make a practice log. Okay? That means you're gonna write down what you're gonna practice,
Alright.
practice it, and then as soon as you finish practice, write down what you're gonna practice the next day, based on what you are hoping to accomplish, based on what you haven't accomplished, etc. Okay?
So like a to-do list for practicing.
Correct.